One, isn't it?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Very well. Yes, I'll go ahead.
Okay, here we go then.
Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Senate meeting number 8, the last regular Senate meeting of our year. I am calling this meeting to order. First, let me thank Maria for all she's done to get us ready to conduct this meeting via Zoom. We've introduced some additional protocols for participation based on some problems that we had with our meeting last time. So just bear with us. These protocols may mean that we have to take longer to do our business as a official body, but I think it's important that we conduct our business in a formal and clear and understandable way, and assure that people have an opportunity to speak. As Maria has outlined, you will be able to let us know that you wish to speak by notifying your campus president of your assembly via a chat, and those names will come up where you can see them after the quorum. So let's go ahead and proceed to our quorum calculation question.
Very well. Opening up the quorum. Okay, I'm closing the poll. And moving on to triangulation. I try to come up with a clever question, but I'm all out of cleverness. Closing the poll. All right, so yes, 78%, actually 69% of you are ready for summer.
A lot of abstentions there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
The first item on our agenda then is, our first action item is on the minutes of the Senate meeting number 7. Minutes have been distributed. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? And again, if you have some, please notify your campus president in a chat.
I need a few minutes to give him status. Just one more. Okay, all should have co-host status now, and they should appear on your chat.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Has anyone indicated that there's any corrections or additions needed to the minutes?
It looks like somebody does have their hand raised, Hugh Barnaby.
Okay, thank you. It's best if you send the message in the chat. But Hugh, do you have additions or corrections to the minutes?
My question was actually about something else. I just wanted to make sure that you were seeing my name, but it seems okay there. So you can take my hand off.
Okay.
No corrections to the minutes.
Okay, we don't have an image, but we do have your name. Okay, thank you. So it appears that there are no corrections or additions to the minutes. and they are therefore approved as distributed. We'll move next to the UAC Chair's report, my report. Since this is the last meeting of the year and the last one over which I will formally preside, last regular meeting, I've prepared some brief formal remarks. However, I think that they are not brief enough given the number of our important other reports we'll be hearing and the business to be conducted today. I will circulate my written remarks later, and for now, I will only briefly say thank you to members of the Senate, Senate committees, and committee chairs, and to members of the UAC and the Senate Executive Committee for your engagement with the Senate's work this year. I also want to thank Maria Coca, our Senate manager, Noah Williams, our student worker, and Alzira Lopez, our administrative specialist, for keeping the whole operation going. Thank you also to Provost Mark Searle and Associate Provost Deb Clark for their continuing support for the Senate's work. I want to also take the time today to acknowledge that June 10th, 2020 will mark the 50th anniversary of the firing of ASU philosophy professor Morris Starsky. And I will leave my written report as the place that I can explain the importance of that anniversary. The next item on our agenda would have been a report from the university president. We have had President Crow's report scheduled for maybe nearly a year, but as you all probably know, he is at the tuition hearing this afternoon and not able to attend. We will have a special meeting a week from today, meeting at 1:30 to 2:30 by Zoom, and that will be an executive session of the Senate at which President Crow will present his report. We do have a report from Provost Searle, and we'll move immediately then to his report.
I'll unmute you. There.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Shirley, for your service this year, and to all the leadership of the Senate for their leadership. This is a difficult task for any Senate leadership group, and this year certainly was a hallmark among those years. I also want to thank all the faculty and for you to extend all of our appreciation to all the hard work that people have done as we get here to the end of the semester this Friday and some exams after that. It's really been a pretty remarkable transition, and I just got some data today. You know, we use a tool called Get Set to help enhance students' kind of emotional support and so forth, and overcoming their perceptions of when they're stuck and how they can enhance their problem-solving abilities to address questions, whether it's going to see a faculty member or whatever it is. And we've been using it for several years, but in that mode, 71% are expressing support for the work that's been done on Zoom. So that's a pretty high number for thousands upon thousands of students who are engaged with us. And that's a credit to every faculty member who's made an extraordinarily earnest effort to make this happen and to get us to this point. We'll certainly be looking to move forward. I know one of the questions on everybody's mind is both first on the short-term summer B and for the longer-term fall, and more of those decisions will be coming forward fairly soon. President Crow and I met with the Senate leadership this morning, and President Crow, when he reports next week, will, I'm sure, engage this topic. We have just been reluctant to come out with statements until we have some sense of you know, where we might be going. Our goal is to be open, but we'd like to have a little bit more parameters before we make any statement. And we're certainly conveying to students that our plans are to be open, but we'll see how that works out in the coming weeks. There's a big effort here that the governor just announced today, this afternoon, to test upwards of 20,000 or so people for the virus. And part of that is to get a much broader population sample to get a better sense of the denominator and to better find out what the overall risk factors are. If they can accomplish that, that might be very insightful to understanding this to a greater degree. Obviously, if anybody discovers a therapeutic to treat the virus, or if a vaccine is developed before the fall, all those would be game-changing outcome for everybody. So we can only hope that that occurs. In the meantime, we're making all kinds of preparations. We're looking at all kinds of options for the fall. We're considering all choices, including different start dates and everything else, just to explore what those would mean. We don't know that any of those things are viable at this point. I will tell you that on a call with the Pac-12 provosts, that our sessions A and B and C are now our sessions A, B, and C are now being looked at to be emulated by others because they see the value in having those kinds of opportunities. I do want to talk to a couple things that came up in specific and then leave the more generalities to the president in a week. But there was a question about the extension we gave to all tenure track faculty members. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that that extension is the same good cause extension we give to anybody who requests it for, whether it's maternity or paternity or for caregiving or some other, or health reasons, in that it doesn't come with an extra year's expectation of work. It comes with an extra year to complete the work you would otherwise do in the 6 years you would have had pre-tenure. So there is no added expectation that comes with that. That's very important. And so, and of course, people can always still come up on their regular clock. It's only an option that is being extended to them if they wish to exercise it. So it's strictly up to them. If they feel they've accomplished all that they need to meet the requirements for tenure in their academic unit, then they're at liberty to come up, just as they could come up early, you know, in any event. It's simply an option being extended. So we don't have much in the way of timelines on decisions. This is another question that's come up about, you know, are we going to furlough like the U of A did or anything like that? We haven't, you know, we're looking at a variety of options. We haven't made any decisions. We don't know enough right now. I will tell you that summer is, the immersion enrollment is lagging about 8%. But online is doing very well. If we can close the gap on that 8%, obviously that implicates how well we do. Same token, the state of Arizona, as many of you may know, when they passed their skinny budget, also reduced their funding to the universities, including us. So we did not get the same amount of money as we had last year. And then if enrollment declines, that's a serious concern for the institution because obviously we get a lot of our revenue from students. I think all of you know that about 9% of our revenue comes from the taxpayers of Arizona, so we have to generate our revenue. So we just think it's a little early to make those predictions yet, and we're not ready to do that and to make announcements. It seems premature. But we will be working on that and hope to have something solved in a reasonably short period of time, but we're not exactly sure what the timeline is at this point. But I can tell you it may have changed by next week when the president is speaking because it's such a dynamic environment. I'm sorry if you're hearing pinging on my phone, it's because I'm also supposed to be in the tuition hearing and I'm being asked a series of questions. So as soon as I finish today, I have to go to that, and I apologize. But also there was some questions about Y grades. I only want to reinforce what we've always said is that they appear on everybody's grade sheet. If you choose to implement them, you just need to tell your students so that they understand that you're choosing to use Y as one of the options, and that if they still want a letter grade, that they're still entitled to get a letter grade, that's all. But it's clearly in your bailiwick to decide how you administer your class and your grades. And by the way, for all the concern expressed about getting more Y grades or pass fail, you know, what you don't get is all the people who write to me saying that they want their grade. And so this is the kind of thing that comes up regularly. It's understandable. There was an effort to look at the salary compression of non-tenure track faculty members. And I feel like this whole issue of compression is some kind of a different kind of problem, because in 2008, we had done the same work on all faculty, and only to have the recession make it impossible for us to do anything. And now we're at a point where we really aren't able to do much at this point either, but we will not lose this. We'll just have to revisit it as soon as we're in a better position to address that. So we will do that. We continue to use our single web page for communication, and we hope that that continues to be a good source of information for people. We are looking to roll out a lot more webinars over the summer to help people be trained on different ways they can use Zoom or other techniques, because we don't know what we'll be teaching or what mode we'll be teaching in the fall, just as we sit here today. And we may be teaching in all three, because you could envision at least one model, one prospective model, is that we come back and there are some students on campus for classes, but not large classes. And so maybe only classes of 30 or less where we can assure physical distancing might be appropriate. And therefore large classes will be taught by Zoom. And so we're looking at all these kinds of things. We're also looking at how we might retrofit classrooms to have an opportunity to teach in those classrooms, both through Zoom and with students in the room at the same time. So we could do things more interactively. So we're looking at a variety of options as we go forward. We haven't in any way made any decisions yet. I haven't even presented any of these options to the president other than in some conversation. And so he hasn't seen all the choices that he'll have to think through himself. But they are all there. And I know that Fred Corey in my office has reached out to Shirley and Simin to seek more input from them. And as the president said this morning in our meeting with the UAC, that we will be seeking their input before we take other actions, and appreciate their wisdom. The biggest challenge I think all of us have, and particularly our faculty and staff who have young children, which is about 25% of our employees who have school-age children, are obviously coping with some other challenges of trying to manage having young children and do their job and keep their sanity. And I'm well aware of this because I have my own children who have children, and they're all doing the same thing. They're all working from home while managing their kids. And we have a great deal of empathy for this, and we know this is a great stress. We hope that we can find ways to be supportive, but it is, we will only see with time how all this evolves over the changes with COVID-19. So that's where we're at right now. I just wanted to, really take the opportunity to express my appreciation. I think you'll get more details, to the extent we have more details, when President Crow speaks next week. But I think we're in about as good shape as we can be. And I think as we go into summer A and C, we've got a lot of opportunities for students to continue to learn. And even though we may be down a little bit in enrollment, we're still got over 40,000 students registered for the summer, and we're teaching about 5,000 courses this summer. So it's still a very robust place, and we're still doing an awful lot of good work to ensure students continue their education. But before I leave, I probably should mention the CARES Act. You may have questions about that. The CARES Act funding comes in two buckets. Half of it is for principally Pell eligible students, and the other half is to help the university with expenses due to the COVID-19 outbreak. The money that's coming for students, we're still working on and through the rules to see how we can best dispense that money. What we'd like to be able to do and hope we can do is be able to use it to help them continue their education this summer and this fall. And so add to their financial aid so that they will have even more support in the absence of perhaps family support or their own jobs that might have been very important for them to continue. And then the other half of the money will go to help support the university. But I can tell you that the 30 million or so that is coming for that purpose is light relative to the amount of money we've had to spend to go through this process. But nonetheless, it will be helpful just to get it. So we're still waiting for the money to arrive, but that will be used. You know, we've bought I think 3,000 laptops in the last few weeks or 2 months, I guess. Another 1,000, 1,500 hotspots. We keep buying because we have new students starting in the summer who may not have equipment, and we need to provide it. We have new faculty who will be starting, and we need to provide them with equipment. And we want to make sure all our staff are well equipped so that they can operate effectively in their jobs from wherever they may be situated. So all that is kind of where we're at in terms of state of the art right at the moment. So let me pause there, Shirley.
Mark, do you have time to take questions?
Sure, I'll take another few minutes, and if you don't mind.
Okay. Okay, I'll go around to each of the campuses then. Let me say, I'm going to adopt the custom of, instead of going alphabetically, going in order of size with smallest assembly first. So that will be West, Poly, Downtown, Tempe. Ken, any questions from West? Okay, I take this to mean no. Everything's great. Okay.
No, we have a question.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We do have a question.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead then.
Yes. How do the summer enrollments match national trends? How is everyone else doing?
Well, that's a good question. We're not 100% sure. Most units or most institutions aren't sharing that data. But we do know that some institutions have actually chosen not to offer very much in the summer because they really don't have the wherewithal. It was a struggle for them to get through the spring. And so they don't really have much that they're offering in the summer. One of the things we've done for summer this year is we've taken out also a regional ad campaign in the surrounding states, Colorado, Nevada, Utah, some other places, California, letting students know they can attend as visiting students for the summer and take courses to get themselves back on track or to accelerate their education or just to get started if that's what they'd like to do. And we have a price point for that makes it, I think, quite attractive. But most years we get about 350 visiting students. This year we're hoping with this campaign that could be somewhere closer to 1,500. That will certainly help us. And then we're encouraging all the academic units that their incoming first-year students should be encouraged to consider starting in the summer. We have some very generous scholarship money for residents, non-residents, and international students who are continuing students. And for new students, we also have some incentives. And so we'd like to help them get started. And we think it's important just to get them, the reason to get them started is in many respects to get them engaged so that they stay and then they continue into the fall. And that's a key part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Questions from Polly?
We have one question. So can you comment on what's the hiring situation?
Sure. On hiring, we have been finishing hiring where we had extended offers or whether even if they were oral. But I will tell you, President Crow asked me where hiring was. He was hoping we had kind of closed out all our hiring. And I said, well, President Crow, I said, for years, you've encouraged me to get units to hire sooner and earlier and to get more people on board quicker. Well, the good news is that they've done that. The bad news is we've now hired 125 new faculty members for the fall. And now it's not bad news, but it is the case. So we still have a very robust new group of faculty coming in the summer. And I know that there's at least another 10 or so offers that are still outstanding. We had launched this year with, I think, a little over 200 hires to make. And so actually our success has been pretty strong. A number of people will be deferring. They've already told us they'll defer and come in January because they don't think they could sell their home or they could get all their relocation done in a timely fashion to be here in the fall, but that's fine with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from downtown?
There are no questions from downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Samin. Questions from Tempe, Caroline?
Yes, I have 3 questions. First of all, David Wells would like to ask a question.
Maria, can you open David Wells' mic?
Yeah, Provost Searle, I just was curious, you indicated in the last, next weeks or few that we'll find out more about the different class designs. Is that including variations on different kind of hybrid class designs where a class will meet in person, or some of the class will meet in person and the other class will be doing something online? There are lots of different ways that could be configured, and how faculty will be involved, or the choices or options faculty will have in trying to figure that out for the fall, assuming we have a social distancing protocol.
Right. David, thanks for the question. I think that we want faculty to be creative in how they do this. I mean, in many respects, we have a lot of that now. We have hybrid I-courses where people are teaching 1 day a week face-to-face, and 1 day a week it's all digital. And so with Zoom, it could be the same thing where you're teaching maybe one face-to-face lecture during the week, and part of it's by digital, or you could be teaching face-to-face, perhaps by dividing the class on Tuesday and Thursday still, and only meeting half the class each day with digital materials complementing the work that they'd otherwise do if they were meeting with you both times. But we'll be putting out these not as prescriptions, but as ways that different faculty can engage. And we're pretty loath to tell you how to teach so much as we are to give you ways that you can exercise your creativity and figure out ways to optimize student learning.
Okay, thank you.
And Lisa Kammerlocker has a question.
Hi, Lisa.
Lisa Kammerlocker?
Yes.
Hi. Dr. Searle, I was wondering if you could tell me if the clock extension you mentioned earlier for faculty extends to APs.
I'm pretty sure it does, but Deb Clark, can you remind me?
I need to unmute her. Give me 1 second.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a lot of
Yes, we did extend it to APs as well, to probationary APs.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And finally, Roger, sorry for the name. Roger Windhorst has a comment to make that I think we can all agree with. So if you could unmute him for 1 moment.
What's his name? Roger?
Roger Windhorst.
Yes, got him. Sorry, not sure why I'm not unclicking.
How about now?
Yes, you're good.
Well, I just wanted to thank Provost Searle as well as Michael Crow for leading us all through this so well. I think we've never been through anything like this. My parents grew up in World War II in Nazi-occupied Holland, and my father spent the last day of his life in the attic of a church going through something like this. But we're all in this together, and thank you for leading us and keeping us together.
You're very kind, Roger. And our debt is really to all of the faculty, all of the staff, because we met with student government leaders today, and they were very supportive of the amount of reach out they have received, not just as student government leaders, as students in their classes, from their faculty, from their advisors, and from others. So it's an incredible achievement by a very talented group of people at ASU.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Windhorst, for expressing for all of us how much we appreciate our leadership at this time. I think that's all of the questions that we had, Dr. Searle. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope everything goes well at the tuition hearing.
Thank you very much, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next week when Michael joins.
Okay, yes. Okay, thank you. We'll move on our agenda now to other reports. We have a report from Elizabeth Wentz about Project Advance. Maria, have you been able to I think Libby has joined the meeting. Are we ready for her report?
Yes, we are. She will be sharing her own presentation. I have made her co-host.
Okay. Libby, if you're ready to go, please proceed.
Great, thank you. And it's really nice seeing so many people here. I appreciate it. I just want to give a very brief overview. It's a kind of more of a situational awareness for all of you, and an invitation for you to share information about what we're doing and to encourage people to get involved. What you may or may not know, the National Science Foundation put in a program about 21 years ago called Advance, which was aiming to identify pathways for gender equity in STEM, primarily looking at the tenure track space. And for many years, their focus was on, well, we need to make sure the women know what to do. And the idea was that we were going to fix the women. And then there was a strong recognition maybe 6-7 years ago that there were actually institutional barriers, that actually women had many if not most, all of the skills necessary to be successful on the tenure track, but there were institutional barriers that were difficult in making sure that women were able to join the tenure track ranks, were able to be successful, promoted to full professor, and have all the resources that they need. And then about 5 years ago, they recognized that it wasn't just about intervention, which is a lot of these activities were related to intervention, but there were also research opportunities. And so about 5 years ago, the NSF Advance program instituted a social science research question part of it, which is, you know, how effective are these interventions? What is the longevity of them? Other kinds of questions. So here's the what's showing on your slide is the 4 pillars that the Advance program focuses on as a whole, which is to enhance institutional structures, which is that institutional part that I was mentioning. And some of it is intervention like work-life support, equitable career support, as well as empowerment. About a year and a half ago, well, 2 years ago actually, this summer, NSF was wonderful to award ASU an Advance grant. It's a $3 million grant over 5 years, so that we can advance our own institutional support for gender and racial and ethnic diversity in the institution. So the 3 initiatives for the ASU Advance are related to public values, focusing a lot on our different kinds of guidelines, like do our tenure track faculty know what's expected of them at the assistant and the associate professor level? How are we evaluated annually? How are chairs and directors mentoring junior faculty? How are our hiring practices bringing the right people to campus? So that was our first initiative. The second initiative builds on our expertise in digital delivery of material by focusing on a digitally enhanced professoriate, which of course with the current situation has accelerated considerably. But a lot of that is about providing professional development and mentoring in a digital platform. Some of it is kind of just-in-time mentoring, and as well as other tools that are available for me. And then the third one, also aligning with a lot what we've done with student success, is actually a digital dashboard. So the idea is that, you know, say somebody at an associate professor level is trying to make some decisions about how they're going to be spending their time. They can look at some background data to identify what are the trajectories for other individuals who've been successful on the career track. We're really fortunate that the Provost Office implemented Interfolio, and so I'm partnering a lot with the Interfolio development team to try to dovetail these 2 efforts so we're not duplicating efforts, and they've been great to work with. And as I mentioned, that the Advance grants also have this social science research project. So our basic social science research project, which again aligns with the work here at ASU, is, you can read it here, what is the impact of an interdisciplinary academic structure on the academic life course with a focus on equity? So in other words, a way to think about this is most institutions don't have the academic interdisciplinary structure that we do, like our interdisciplinary schools. And the question is what is that structure? How does it then impact the career trajectories of women and underrepresented minorities by comparison to other institutions that may not have the same structure? And that program is going on through mixed method approach. A lot of interviews have been taking place. Many of you may have participated in it or know people who have. And if you have, thank you very much for that. A couple of our institutional transformation activities. The first one is really looking very carefully at the promotion to associate professor, the guidelines. Because if you may or may not know, associate professors, it's not just about doing more of the same, but what does it mean to have a strong record, a strong portfolio at the associate professor level? And there's a lot of variability in terms of what those guidelines look like. So we're looking in detail at, is too much specificity problematic? Is something that's too vague problematic? What is kind of the right size for those kinds of guidelines? The second thing we're spending out some time on, many of you have probably participated in academic program reviews, and this and incorporating diversity and equity in our program reviews so that we can actually have sort of a long-term view on our success in recruiting practices and promotion practices. This is going to allow us to have this longer-term trajectory. Over 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, are we making a difference in what we're doing? We also think that annual reviews for faculty directors and deans need to have some level of focus on DEI. So in other words, are you reaching out to recruit students from Hispanic serving institutions? Are you incorporating and understanding diversity in your research in some kind of way? What kinds of practices are you using in your classroom to make sure that your assignments are not exclusionary in any kind of way? We're also doing some piloting work in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences on hiring practices, from training search committees to rubrics to job application content like diversity statements. And that's going well. We're going to have our first, we just, as Provost Searle said, we've just finished a lot of our hiring, and we want to take a look at how those rubrics were used. Mentoring plans, we need to advance our ability to have mentoring plans, especially for associate professors. And then the last one, which came out of Senate meeting and my conversations with Shirley, so thank you for that, is doing an assessment of biases that are in student evaluations, particularly for women and underrepresented faculty. So that activity is taking place as well. One other overarching statement that I want to make is that the AAAS has a program called Sea Change. And really what it is it's a designation that is assigned to universities that are showing exceptional leadership in advancing women and underrepresented minorities in STEM fields. And ASU is putting together an application for this kind of designation, and it's led by the names who are over there on the side. And we see the DEI work that we're doing is not being okay, Advance is doing all this, or Stanley James' office and the provost office is doing all of it, or Sea Change, or Faculty Women's Association, Faculty Women of Color Caucus. There's really a constellation of activities that are working together to try to make these efforts. And I wanted you to be aware of the Sea Change work.
Libby, we need to, oh, I see you are wrapping up. Okay.
This is my last slide.
All right, thank you.
I know that your time here is limited, and I was told 5 minutes, and I guess I'm at that point.
I think, yes.
Email me, check out our website, and I welcome you to be involved. So thanks for the time to speak with you here.
Thank you so much for this report, Libby. This is always a timely issue for us. I will ask, if you're willing to take questions, I will ask if there any questions have been raised from any of the campuses. Ken, any questions from your campus?
We have no questions.
Thank you. Yun, any questions from Poly?
No questions from Poly. Thank you.
Thank you. Samin, questions from downtown? I'm going to guess no. Caroline, any questions from Tempe?
No questions.
Okay. Give Samin one more chance. Samin, were there questions?
No questions from downtown.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Didn't want to just rush past you. Okay, thanks again, Libby. Our next report is from Ken Sweat, who will give a brief presentation update about his faculty mentoring research project. So Ken, if you'll unmute, Ken.
Okay. So yeah, just a quick update. I've started compiling the answers from the review. For those of you who don't remember, we did a brief survey of the unit heads across ASU to ask them specifically what kind of mentoring resources were available for teaching in their unit to both tenure and non-tenure track faculty. I've started compiling and organizing the answers, and you know, my credit to the social scientists. This is a lot more complicated than working with plants, but one of the things that I think is amazing is the diversity that you see within ASU, especially when you look at the kinds of resources available. It is obvious from an early standpoint that the larger the unit, the more resources are available. I don't think that's going to shock anyone. Other than that, though, I look forward to getting the rest of this together and back to the Senate as soon as possible.
Thank you, Ken. I'm going to assume there are no questions for this brief report. I hope you will interrupt me if that's not the case. Then we'll move to our report from Nancy Cook, and I apologize for the misspelling of her name. It's C-O-O-K-E. Nancy's Poly Campus past president, and she's going to report on the April 2nd AFC and ABOR meetings.
I'm still muted.
There you go. I just heard you, so you're good.
She's still muted?
I heard her. Yeah, now she's muted. Okay, there you go.
Okay, there I am. Maria, I had a slide to show. Did you hear me? Okay, good.
Here it comes.
Okay. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to report, Shirley. On April 2nd, I had the opportunity to participate in the Arizona Faculty's Council and attend the ABOR meeting. These were both, of course, held by Zoom. And I just want to give you some highlights of what was discussed primarily at the Arizona Faculty's Council meeting, because that kind of mirrors what goes on in the ABOR meeting. One of the main things that we discussed were the enterprise-wide performance metrics that the board is developing for all three universities. And we want to know how the Arizona Faculty's Council can contribute to the selection of metrics. And to give you a feel for the types of metrics that there are these 5 different categories with multiple metrics in each. So there are input metrics, such as how many students are you enrolling each year, process metrics, such as how well are you retaining them, output metrics, such as how many degrees have been graduated, outcome metrics, such as social consequence, and then undergraduate and graduate satisfaction. So there are multiple metrics within each of those categories. We primarily discussed one metric that was very important to the faculty that came, I think it was an outcome metric under social consequence, which was research impact. And the metric that was cited for discussion was number of citations per tenured and tenure track faculty member in the peer-reviewed literature normalized by discipline across the past 5 years. So as you might imagine, there was lots of discussion about how for this metric, one size does not fit all. And we talked about differences between this metric in science and engineering versus humanities. And the decision was to have the Arizona Faculty's Council help craft language for the board to use for this particular metric. So these are all still in the works. There have been no firm decisions yet. The other thing that we discussed were responses by the faculties to COVID-19. And just to clarify, all of the decisions that are made are decisions that are made within each independent institution, but we wanted to share among the faculties to identify issues that were concerns for reporting to the regions. And so some of the things that came up were pass-fail option, delay of tenure clock, the problem of students, I don't know if you're experiencing this, but students that are missing from your class, but they're still enrolled, long-term financial impact on faculty, human subjects research. This is one I'm particularly experiencing issues with. How do you collect face-to-face data anymore? And then the mental health and well-being of students, which is becoming, because it was critical before and is even more critical now. So turning then to the ABOR meeting, Shirley gave a report from the Arizona Faculty's Council, but in addition, one of the highlights was the university presidents described various research efforts aimed at COVID-19, and I think ASU's report was pretty outstanding because there are a lot of efforts going on in this area. And then Regent Penley, chair of ABOR, expressed his gratitude for the adaptivity and resilience of all of the Arizona faculties in response to COVID-19. So that's my summary.
Thank you, Nancy. Let's take a minute or two here for questions if there are any. Any questions from West, Ken?
No questions from West.
Thank you. Questions from Polly?
No questions for Polly. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from downtown?
No questions from downtown. Thank you.
Thanks. And questions from Tempe?
No questions from Tempe.
All right, great. Thanks very much. And thank you, Nancy, again for that, that report. Well, we're ready to move to old business now, and we'll address motion 2020-52. This is a request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences School of International Letters and Culture for the establishment of a graduate degree, PhD in Spanish linguistics, which is now pending. We discussed this at some length at our last meeting, and with the expectation that senators would have an opportunity to gather more information if they wished, and also to review the information that was presented. I'm going to begin by asking our CAPSI chair. This motion, of course, as a curriculum motion, was brought by CAPSI. So I'll ask Lily Wang as CAPSI chair to speak first on behalf of this motion. Then we will proceed in a very orderly fashion to hear speakers in favor, interchanging, alternating with speakers against the motion. We'll hear from senators first, and then if there's any others who wish to speak, we will call on them, and as usual, we'll go in an order by campus. So we'll just do our best to make our way through this discussion in an orderly way. So let me ask Lily then if she will briefly speak to this motion, giving us a review, a background again on its progress.
Thank you, Shirley. During our last Senate meeting, I mentioned about this proposal, how it was reviewed by CAPSI. The proposal was first included in the CAPSI's consent agenda on February 6th. So at that meeting, the proposal was polled and was further discussed. Then the CAPSI voted to request additional information from the unit. And after the meeting, the unit presented additional meeting. It was included in the addendum, and then the proposal was again included on the March 5th CAPSI meeting agenda. During that March meeting, both party, objection and support party, were given 10 minutes more or additional time to discuss this. And then before actually that meeting, all the information shared with us from both parties were also presented to the CAPC member, and CAPC member had enough time to review all the materials. And then we voted, and then the proposal was passed with majority. There were 2 objections to the proposal. So this is a brief kind of overview of what CAPC has done regarding this proposal. And so a few senators contacted me after last Senate meeting and asked for information. So that is the recap of what CAPC has done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lily. Now I will hear any speaker who wishes to speak against the motion. Ken, has anyone from West wish to speak against the motion?
I have nobody from West that wishes to speak against the motion.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from Poly wish to speak against the motion?
No anyone from Poly. Thank you.
Anyone from downtown who wishes to speak against the motion?
No one from downtown wishes to speak against the motion. Thank you.
Okay, and anyone from Tempe?
Yes, Jose Menendez would like to speak against the motion.
Against the motion. Okay, Senator Menendez.
Okay.
Please identify the unit that you represent.
Yeah, I am a senator from the Physics Department.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to thank CAPC for all they've done. I think they are in a very difficult position because it is not very common that substantial discussions take place at that level. But both parties showed up at the CAPC meeting and presented arguments. But CAPC made a decision that doesn't help the Senate because they added these additional documents to this addendum that you can download from their website, but that addendum only contains documentation provided by the side that supports the motion, not by the side that is against it. So we are here ready to vote on this matter, and there is not a single document in the entire paper trail that shows what are the technical objections by some of our faculty colleagues. And there is no evidence that they were ever discussed, not at the uni level, not at the college level, not at the graduate college level, only at CAPC level. But those were not shared with us. And second, CAPC seems to imply that all the I's were dotted and all the T's were crossed. But if you look at the documents provided by CAPC itself in its addendum, the picture that emerges there is quite different and quite troubling. First, there is an email from the unit chair informing the faculty that in consultation with the dean, she has decided to move forward to create a PhD in Spanish linguistics. Now, curricular matters are an essential component of faculty shared governance. So it seems strange that the unit chair just informs their faculty that a new program is going to be created. But it gets even more strange because in the next couple of sentences, she tells her faculty members that from that moment on, the program would start operating as if it had already been approved. And she decides that the existing official program will cease to have jurisdiction over linguistic students. So this was a de facto partial disestablishment of an existing and approved program by fiat. And this was March 2018, so more than a year ago. So they are coming here today to ask us to approve what they already did more than a year ago without apparently any mandate to do it. And so this is quite incredible and explains things here. But where does that leave us at the Senate? So are we being taken seriously? Can anything that requires Senate approval be implemented 1 year earlier? And if that's the case, so why do we need a Senate? Now, we either take the Senate seriously or abolish it. And to be honest, I mean, I'd rather be doing my research here than participating in this meeting. But if we are going to do it, then we have to be serious, honest, and don't play pretend games.
Okay, thank you, Senator Menendez. I'm going to call now for any speakers in favor of the motion. Lily, if you would, please answer any of the issues that Senator Menendez brought up about the information that was circulated, because I believe that his statement is in error.
During the process, all the information shared with us from both parties was sent out to CAPC members. On the website, I think it's the addendums are available, and in the minutes, we also included what information we requested from both parties. So that that in essence tells us the addendum is a response to the CAPC's request of additional information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I will count that as speaking in favor of the motion. I appreciate your clarification of the issues, Lily, on behalf of CAPC, the group that brought that motion. And it's the turn for those who will wish to speak against. Ken. Anyone from West?
There are no further questions, statements from West.
Okay, anyone to speak against from Poly?
No, thank you.
Anyone to speak against from downtown?
No one to speak against from downtown.
Thank you. And from Tempe?
No one to speak against from Tempe. We do have somebody who would like to speak in favor.
Okay, I have heard from, I think you can hear one more speaker in favor. So I should give everyone, each of the campuses a turn, Caroline, and then we'll come to you. Speakers in favor from West. Ken, you're muted, sorry.
We have no speakers in favor from West.
Okay, speakers in favor from Poly.
Nope, thank you.
Speakers in favor from downtown.
No speakers in favor from downtown.
Okay, Caroline.
Yes, the Senator Ann Walton Ramirez has requested that Helene Osipov be allowed to speak in favor of the motion.
Okay.
If we could unmute Helene, please.
Yes, please unmute Helene.
Yeah, hi. So I am just speaking in favor of this motion for a PhD in Spanish linguistics. Spanish has had a track in linguistics as part of the regular PhD, and now the linguistics faculty would rather have a separate PhD. And one reason for that is that it makes the PhD much more visible. Linguistics PhDs are very much in demand right now, relative to other language PhDs. There's about 44% of the job openings are in Spanish, have to do with linguistics. There's been a pretty steady, in fact, rising interest in linguistics on the academic job market. This particular PhD prepares students for jobs not only in academia, but it also prepares students for jobs outside of academia. So we've been having let me back up a little bit here. ASU has been working very hard to be much more interdisciplinary and to have people working across borders and to get out of silos, that kind of thing. And we've also had an alt-ac movement recently initiative in order to try to prepare our students for life, a non-academic life after PhDs. And this particular PhD, the linguistics PhD, does exactly that. It works the focus is on Spanish, but students would also be able to take courses outside with the very many linguists that actually are in ASU. It has the linguistics track so far for the last 2 years. It was established in 2015, so they recently graduated students, 7 students, 100% placement rate. There are some students who have tenure track jobs. There's one, and then there are several other students who are not working in tenure track jobs, but are working, for instance, for software companies, for educational companies. There's one that's even working with a baseball team. We've got one of the focuses of this PhD is in heritage languages. We have one of the top people in heritage language speakers here at ASU. And this is something that's only going to become even more and more important as we get Spanish-speaking students into our classes. The PhD will prepare teachers, will prepare instructors for dealing with heritage language students who learn the language differently from non-heritage speakers. Finally, if you look, just go into the Google Play or go into the App Store, and you will see there are hundreds of apps for learning languages, okay? This PhD will help students be able to work in places like Duolingo, places like Rosetta Stone and others that will help them to, in fact, improve their product. So there's a lot of demand for PhDs in linguistics and in Spanish linguistics in the government, okay, in law enforcement, and generally in industry. So this is a really, really good program, a really good PhD that will help students, will help them move on and work in the world.
Thank you, Helene. Okay, I have a note. I have a note that Senator Menendez thought I had cut him off. I apologize for that. I thought you were summarizing your points there. You had repeated a couple of points. I thought that was a summary and moved on. Do you wish to speak again, Senator Menendez? He's muted.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to conclude what I was saying.
Okay.
So I think this is essentially supporting a motion that we are being asked to support a motion that actually means, so rubber stamping something that was established 1 year ago without any Senate approval. We are being asked to support the motion that in the eyes of majority of faculty members in that unit think that they need some adjustments that are supposed to be made sometime in the future. And we are being asked to approve this motion in spite of the fact that some faculty colleagues claim that they have been disenfranchised. And there is strong evidence that this is indeed the case. So I'm just saying I'm going to vote no on this motion, and I hope that other faculty colleagues join me, because this is a matter of self-respect for the Senate. I'm done.
Okay, are there any other senators who wish to speak in favor of or against the motion? I'll call for both because things got a little bit out of order here. Ken, any senators wish to speak in favor of or against the motion?
No one wishes to speak from the West Campus on this motion.
Thank you. Polly?
No one from Polly. Thank you.
Downtown?
No one from downtown. Thank you.
And Tempe?
I actually have two people who requested to speak.
Senators first.
Is Nina Berman a senator?
Nope.
Okay. Ann Walton Ramirez, would you like to speak as a senator? If we can unmute Ann.
Okay. Hello. The only thing that I wanted to add to what Elaine Osipov mentioned is that there was a vote in the Spanish and Portuguese faculty last week regarding this issue because we were asked to revisit it. And with the Spanish graduate faculty, it was passed 9-4.
Thank you, Senator Walton Ramirez, for that information. I have a...
No other senators have sent me.
Okay. I'm going to call for, we're hearing I see a note that Helene would like to respond to Senator Menendez's remarks, and Senator Walton Ramirez has designated Helene to speak on her behalf. So we'll hear from Helene. And then I have a note that Cynthia Tompkins would like to speak. And then we will move on. We have a lot of ground to cover, and it's clear that that we're hearing things a second time. So Helene, if you want to correct information that was presented, and then Cynthia Tompkins.
Yes, the initiative for the Silk PhD, for the Spanish linguistics PhD, came not from the director of the school, it came from the linguistics faculty. They've been talking about that for a long time. So this is something that they really wanted. I know I'm a linguist myself, I'm in French, so there's been, a lot of interaction. I know that this is something they've been wanting for a long time. So Professor Menendez is incorrect in saying that it came from the director. It was discussed when it went through the usual process through the graduate committee. The graduate committee in Silk, they had a representative from Spanish who was there when it was discussed. So it's not like this was snuck under the radar or anything like that. She was there. This has gone through every single process twice. So I don't understand how it could have snuck under the radar, how things could have been snuck through or anything when it's been looked at more than any, this particular program has been looked at more than any other that I've seen. And I went to the Skettle thing when people really look through Skettle, and this has been even more than that. So I don't understand the arguments that this was somehow snuck through without approval. The other thing is that keep in mind that there was 18 months between the time that the program was proposed and the time that the election took place. There was certainly plenty of time if there were any other objections that where a vote could have been taken earlier. I also would like to underline what Anne pointed out, which is that there were 13 people who voted. The vote was 9-4. There were 4 linguists, which means that the majority of the literature and culture people, faculty, supported this program. So this is supported not just by the linguistics faculty, it's also supported by the literature and culture faculty, because 5 against 4 voted in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Helene. Cynthia Tompkins.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to respond to Helene and state that the timeline shows, if you look at the timeline, this was a de facto unit and there was no faculty input from then on because we were told that this unit was supported by the dean. When the proposal was passed by the Silk committee, linguistics sat as a unit on the same level as other real units. This was a de facto unit. Entering into that discussion would have been to accept it. Regarding the 40% number that has been thrown out over and over. I have asked the MLA to give me a count. I asked them on February the 20th. They just gave me the count. 40% is not a rate, the medium rate. It might have been that year, it might have been a fluke. The MLA said that in the last job list, it was only 14. So we are asking for seriousness, we're asking for real facts, and we're asking for faculty governance. Regarding the vote, one of our faculty members didn't even want to come to the event because, again, that would have been to accept a process that has been utterly irregular. As CAPC members recall, when we were at the meeting there, any procedural critique is personalized and the race card is taken out. And that is what kept some of our colleagues in line. So this has not been a regular process. We're just asking for a regular process which involves faculty input from the very beginning. That's all.
Okay, as I said earlier, I think we're hearing the same things. There's not a reason to continue to hear discussion on this item. I'm going to ask Maria to prepare the vote.
Just launch the vote?
Yes, I think that's where we are.
Yes, I just did that. Do you approve Senate Motion 2020-52 establishment of the PhD in Spanish linguistics? Reminder, this is for voting members only. And we have a quorum to compare it to. Ending the vote.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
We're ready to move then to our new business. Before going to our action items under new business, we have some first reads to prepare you for our next regular meeting, which will be in August. These items are for information purposes only, although senators may seek clarification. Full discussion is reserved for our next meeting. Lily Wang, CAPC Chair, will inform you of upcoming curricular proposals. Lily, if you would comment on the items in Appendix A, sorry.
So the items included in Appendix A will not be coming back for a vote at Senate meeting, but will be discussed and voted on at the CAPC meeting. So if you have any questions or concerns, please contact me before Thursday's meeting so we can get it discussed. Okay.
Okay, and that's this Thursday.
This Thursday. This
April
Thursday.
30.
April 29th. Thank you.
Okay.
It's
I think it's whatever, Thursday.
Oh,
thank you, Lily.
Thursday,
Okay.
yes. Is it? Yeah, 39. That's Thursday.
All right, we have 3 additional motions for
30th.
first reads. First is a motion for a resolution expressing appreciation for our ASU essential workers. This motion comes from the University Services and Facilities Committee. Joyce Martin is chair. Joyce.
1 second.
Sure.
There, you're ready.
Yes, I move to suspend the rules for first and second reading, given the timeliness of this motion.
Okay, thank you, Joyce. There's been a motion to suspend first and second reading, our usual procedure, in order to express appreciation in a timely manner. Do I hear a second to that motion?
I second.
Okay, we have a second. A motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules and treat motion 2020-79 as a second read to be acted upon today. This motion to suspend rules is not debatable and requires a 2/3 vote to pass. Please vote on this motion to suspend the rules. Maria?
Launched. A couple of more seconds. Votes are still coming in. The motion passes.
The motion to suspend the rules passes. This item will be moved to the second reading section of our agenda, so we'll be coming back to it in a few minutes. Thank you, Joyce, and just be prepared for our return to this item. The next first read is motion 2020-80, which is related to the general studies revision. I would like to ask Phil Vandermeer, since this is a first reading, if he would briefly introduce this motion.
1 second. You're ready, Phil.
Yes, as senators will recognize from the email that I sent out, I'm quite concerned about the Senate authority in terms of curricular revision, and especially in this case in terms of general studies. And so I sent out two motions, one to deal with the fact that a pilot program was going ahead, and second, to deal with the question of further development and implementation of pilot programs. My concern then was that although a program was going ahead with West, that we needed Senate approval to make this a legal procedure. And so that was my motion. I think both of these are really timely, and so I moved to suspend the rules requiring a first reading on both motions 2020-80 and 2020-81 so that we can discuss these and vote on them today.
Okay, Phil, thanks, but I'm going to hear only the motion to suspend the first one. We'll take them each in turn. So would you please revise that to make a motion to suspend the rules for the first one so we can vote on that motion to suspend. We'll do them separately.
Okay, I move to suspend the rules requiring a first reading on motion 2020-80 so that the Senate may begin discussing and voting on this.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second to that motion?
I second.
Okay, thank you. I think that was Samin.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules and treat motion 2020-80 as a second read to be acted upon today. This motion to suspend the rules is not debatable and requires a 2/3 vote to pass. Please vote on this motion to suspend the rules. Maria?
Launched.
Thank you.
Ending the poll. Motion passes.
Okay, motion to suspend the rules passes. This item, motion 2020, will move into the queue in our second readings portion of the agenda. Okay, our next first read is for motion 2020-81. This is going to be introduced by Eduardo Pagan. Eduardo, do you wish to briefly speak about this motion? This is not an opportunity to argue for or against, but merely to introduce it. Eduardo.
Yes. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
I was so prepared to argue for this, but I will just introduce this.
Okay.
No, that's fine. So essentially what this is this is following up on the previous motion, of course, and this is to simply recognize and reaffirm the Senate's role in overseeing general studies. And the significance of that, you can see clearly in the mandate of the Curriculum and Academic Programs Committee, CAPC, but also the existence of the Provost Committee on the General Studies Council as well. So this is an important part of faculty governance. And so this motion is simply recognizing and reaffirming our role as faculty and as a Senate to oversee important changes to our curriculum as the General Studies revision promises to be. So that's my introduction.
Thank you, Eduardo. This is a first read. Unless there is a motion to suspend the rules, we'll leave it as a first read.
I move to suspend the rules requiring a first reading and move immediately to a second reading and discussion of this measure.
Phil, our practice is going to be to put these in the queue. So rather than move immediately, are you willing to revise your motion to suspend so it's consistent?
Definition of immediate.
Okay. This meeting.
Sure. A friendly
Okay.
amendment. Friendly
Okay.
amendment. Sure.
A motion has been made to suspend the rules and move this motion 2020-81 to be read as a second reading today. So Maria, I think you've prepared that motion. This motion to suspend the rules has to pass by a 2/3 majority.
Do you need a second, Shirley?
Yes, I do. Could I hear a second? I
That's fine.
apologize for that.
I'll be the second.
Okay, Eduardo is seconding. Maria, it may take you a moment to prepare that.
I'm just gonna briefly edit it once,
Okay.
and I apologize. Launching the poll.
Okay.
Ending the poll.
Okay, this motion to suspend the rules and move this to a second reading passes. We'll be taking this up under our second readings today. Okay, I think then we are ready to move to second readings. Our motions for second readings in order. And I'm hoping that our parliamentarian, Denise Bodman, will just chime in and interrupt me. Maybe you should leave her mic open, Maria, in case I make an error in parliamentary procedure.
Just unmuted her.
Pardon?
I just unmuted her.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're at second readings. We'll now address motions that are on second reads and action items. The new course proposals were distributed to you on April 14th, 2020, and are presented to you as a consent agenda. Is there a request to remove any course for further consideration from the new course proposal consent agenda? Any requests from West?
No requests from the West Campus.
Thank you. Any requests from Polly?
No further requests from Polly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any requests from downtown?
There are no requests from downtown. Thank you.
And any from Tempe?
No request from Tempe.
Okay. Hearing no request, we will vote on the course proposal consent agenda. Maria, if you would prepare that vote for us.
Launching it now. Closing the poll.
Okay, this motion passes. Thank you, Lily. CAPC has 12 motions related to curricular proposals for your consideration. And this is also brought as a consent agenda. Lily, will you please read these motions? If she's not, you need to unmute her.
Give me 1 second, I apologize.
Sure.
I thought she was unmuted. Okay, sorry. No. Lily, let me go ahead and do it because I think we both keep pressing it. So let me go ahead. There you go. You're all set.
Okay. So the following motions were approved at the last CAPC meeting on April 2nd. First is motion 2020-60, request from the College of Health Solutions for the establishment of an undergraduate degree, BS in Food and Nutrition Entrepreneurship. Motion 2020-63, request from the Aston College of Nursing and Health Innovation for the establishment of a graduate certificate, Food Safety and Protection. Motion 2020-64, request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Mathematical and Statistical Sciences for the establishment of an undergraduate degree, BS in Data Science. Motion 2020-65, request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership for the establishment of a graduate degree, MA in Classical Liberal Education and Leadership. Motion 2020-66, request from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Social Transformation for the establishment of a graduate certificate, Disability Studies. Motion 2020-67, request from the College of Global Futures for the establishment of a new academic unit, School of Complex Adaptive Systems. Motion 2020-68, request from the Herberger Institute for Design and Arts to merge and establish an academic unit, establish the new American Film School, merge School of Music and the School of Film, Dance, and Theater to School of Music, Dance, and Theater. Motion 2020-69, request from the Office of the University Provost for the establishment of a new academic unit, College of Global Futures. Motion 2020-70, request from the School for the Future of Innovation in Society for the establishment of a graduate degree, MS in Public Interest Technology. Motion 2020-71, request from the School of Sustainability for the establishment of a graduate degree, MS in Sustainable Food System. Motion 2020-72, request from the School of Sustainability for the establishment of a graduate certificate, Sustainability. Motion 2020-73, request from the Watts College of Public Service and Community Solutions for the establishment of a graduate degree, MPS in Community Development Practice. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Is there a request for any of these motions to be removed from the consent agenda in order to have a further discussion? I'll go to each of the campuses. Any requests from West?
No requests from the West Campus.
From Poly?
No request from Poly. Thank you.
From downtown?
There are no requests from downtown.
And from Tempe?
There are no requests from Tempe.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no request, we will vote on the consent agenda. Maria, will you prepare the vote?
Yes, launching now. Ending the poll. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We're ready for other motions and resolutions. Our next agenda item is a second read for motion 2020-74, which had its first read at our last meeting. It's a resolution to remove voting barriers for students. I'm going to ask Johanna Uriri Glover, the chair of the University Senate Student Faculty Policy committee to briefly read this motion, since she is the chair of that committee.
Okay. The United States Constitution's 26th Amendment says that citizens of the United States who are 18 of age or older have the right to vote. According to Fowler 2018, of the 51% of Arizona millennials born between 1981 to 96 who were registered to vote, 30% voted in the 2016 general election. The efforts of the Arizona State University undergraduate student government have had a positive impact on student voter turnout. The data comparing 2014 and 2018 elections indicate that overall the voting behaviors have improved. The University Senate Student Faculty Policy Committee supports the goal of contributing to high student voter turnout by addressing unforeseen circumstances that will impede the ability of students to vote. Having faculty support the efforts of the student government to increase voter turnout may be an innovative approach to promote students' rights to vote and increase their voter turnout in this age group. So the resolution is as follows. Whereas Arizona State University recognizes that ASU student government will implement a plan to increase student voter registration and voting in elections that include providing students with the following: information about on-campus voter registration and voting opportunities for students, voter registration materials centrally located on campus in high traffic areas, information regarding voter registration deadlines, B, instructions and deadlines for mail-in ballots for in-state and out-of-state students, links on ASU websites that direct students to voter registration websites, including links that explain the voter registration process in detail. ASU requests for county election officials for on-campus polling location where applicable, and ASU leadership actions to coordinate activities aimed at increasing voter registration and election turnout. Whereas Arizona State University students have on occasion stood in lines for long periods of time to vote, and consequently some were forced to decide whether to leave the polls and vote and not vote in order to attend classes. Whereas when circumstances occur beyond students' control, they may choose not to vote in order to avoid penalties imposed by faculty related to missed classes and assignments due on election day. Whereas faculty acknowledge that students may encounter barriers to voting on election day, whereas faculty do not wish to suppress any citizens' participation in voting, nor do they wish to create barriers to students exercising their civic right and responsibility to vote. And whereas the Arizona State University Senate remains committed to protecting the academic freedoms of faculty and maintaining excellence in teaching while allowing students to exercise their right to vote. Therefore, it be resolved that the Arizona State University Senate, representing all faculty members and academic professionals, publicly asserts and affirms their support for the intent of the ASASU resolution removing voting barriers for Arizona State University students, urging all faculty to demonstrate support for students participating in voting on election day by considering the dates of election when planning course calendars and due dates when considering excused absences, makeup assignments, or testing on election days, and will actively circulate this resolution to all members of the university community community, including students, staff, and faculty.
Thank you, Johanna. Well, do I hear a second to this motion? I think everybody is muted.
I second.
Thank you, Caroline. We have a second. We'll move this to discussion then, and first asking for anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the motion. Anyone from West?
No one from the West Campus.
Anyone from Poly wish to speak in favor of the motion?
One from Poly, thank you.
Anyone from downtown?
Yes, we do have someone from downtown. Irene Burton has a question about this resolution.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Hi, I brought it up to our faculty. My name is Irene Burton. I'm with the School of Social Work, and I brought it up with my faculty, and very much I'm supportive of it, but wondered if it would be, if the appropriate dates would be listed on the academic calendar so that when faculty were planning for the year, they would know what dates specifically to not have tests and to be in line with the spirit of this resolution. So we were just wondering if it would be possible to add it to the academic calendar so we could plan appropriately.
I'm going to just jump in here, Senator Burton, and say we can investigate that. And if we can't get it officially added to the calendar, certainly the Senate can make an effort to communicate with faculty ourselves about this. We may need to do it through our senators, but we can make a commitment to good communications about these, what dates this represents.
Thank you. They just wanted to make sure that we all planned accordingly, given how many different elections there are.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to count that as a question and not a statement in favor of the motion. Caroline, anyone to speak in favor of the motion from Tempe?
No one.
Okay, so I'll give a chance to hear from anyone.
I'm sorry, hold on.
Okay.
Lisa Camerlocker has a question.
Okay. Senator Camerlocker.
Sorry. Give me 1 second.
I think Lisa's asking. Okay, go ahead.
She's unmuted.
Yes. Could you clarify, I'm sorry if I missed something, was this intended for every single election or is this intended for national elections? Can you clarify?
Yes, it was intended for the national elections, the ones that's coming up especially, and they actually requested no classes. But, and we looked into that and there's no way that we could plan for anything like that. It wasn't feasible.
Okay. Does that answer your question then? I'm going to assume yes. Okay, anyone who wishes to speak against this motion? Anyone from West to speak against the motion?
We have no one to speak against the motion from the West Campus.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from Poly to speak against the motion?
We have no one from Poly, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from downtown to speak against the motion?
No one from downtown to speak against this motion.
Thank you. And from Tempe to speak against the motion?
Not to speak against the motion, but I do have 2 more questions.
Okay. Would you go ahead and identify the people?
Yes, David Wells has a question, followed by Andrea Pittman.
Okay, thank you. Senator Wells?
Yeah, just with the COVID-19, I just want to think about encouraging students to get on the permanent early voting list because we don't know what the election's going to look like. And unfortunately, our state government is not making that easy for folks. So anyways, don't know if it really fits into the resolution exactly, but I definitely would want to see that advocated publicly by the university in some manner.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's important.
And there was someone else with a question or comment?
Andrea Pittman had a question.
Senator Pittman? Senator, please identify which unit you represent.
Is she still muted?
Oh,
okay.
Yes. Give me one
Can I mute now? Hello?
Yes, you're good.
There.
Okay. Am I here?
Yes.
Hi, Andrea Pittman from Speech and Hearing Science. My question is, how many election days are we talking about? And can that be specified? I'd feel more comfortable about this if it was specified clearly in the resolution before we voted on it, because I don't know if we're talking about 1 per year or 5 per year. And the idea of not requiring assignments on specific days is tough to kind of get into the schedule in some cases. And it's also, we faculty don't have the same consideration. We still have to teach and we still have to do our part. So, and we get the voting in. So I'm not sure. I think I'd like some more specificity.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I think that's important that we specify that it's national electives. And one of the things that we're trying not to do is try to tell faculty what to do. So we want faculty to maintain their academic freedoms and decide what to do in these cases. And one of the things that we wanted to look at was if it was something that affected all citizens and it was in the news, then, you know, you may gear toward the, you know, giving them credit or extensions for assignments and things like that.
Okay. Senator Pittman, are you asking that we revise the resolution as written so that it specifies general election, or so that it, what's your point?
Well, I hadn't prepared to make a motion, but I would move that the resolution or this motion be made more specific about which elections we're talking about, how many per year, and the options for faculty on those days.
Okay, that's
too much.
It's too much. Yeah.
Be made more specific.
Yes.
Denise has a comment that it should be as an
Denise,
amendment.
can you help us out? Denise Bodman, parliamentarian.
She should be unmuted, but let me double check.
Okay.
Oh, no, she was muted again.
Okay. So this should be like a formal amendment. If you want to make the amendment formally, like look at the resolution and see where you would want to put in, for example, that this applies to the national election. Or another possibility would be to send this motion back, this resolution back to the committee to be worked on a little bit more to kind of flush out some of the things that you're talking about. So either that type of amendment will work.
Well, I apologize for not preparing it.
Or that type of
a question that's turned into something.
Yeah.
But if you could help me through a motion to perhaps send this back for an amendment for consideration, how should this be phrased?
Okay, so you can just move that this resolution, this motion for a resolution be returned to the committee for further consideration and
specificity.
Yeah, specificity.
Okay.
And then we get a second from that. And
right.
if people can vote, yeah, we think that's what it should be, or people can vote, no, we don't, we want to take care of this now.
Okay, then I move that this motion be sent back to the committee for further consideration and specificity. An amendment.
Okay, do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, it was seconded by Senator Vandermeer. Okay, Maria, can you prepare a motion?
Yes.
To return this resolution to the Student Faculty Policy Committee for revision to provide additional specific information.
Shirley, this is Simi, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. Will you
Sure.
be going back around to the campuses again? I do have a senator who would like to.
Oh, I'm asking her to prepare the motion.
Okay.
So she can get started on it. We can discuss this. I don't know, Denise, can we discuss a motion to send this back? Okay, yes, all right. So while Maria's preparing that motion for us to vote on, we can have our discussion of this motion to send this back. Who wishes to speak in favor of the motion to send this back to the committee? Could we hear from West? Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the motion to return it to the committee?
I have no one who wishes to speak in favor of the motion.
Okay. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of returning it to the committee from Polly?
No one, thank you. Sorry.
No one? Okay. And from downtown, anyone to speak in favor of the motion to return?
No, but I do have someone who would like to speak against the motion to return.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep this orderly.
Yeah.
But don't let me overlook you. And Caroline from Tempe, anyone to speak in favor? You're muted.
Noah, can you unmute, please?
Yes, sorry. Just give me one moment.
Sure.
No one speaking in favor, but I do have several for the other side.
Okay. Okay. Now we'll hear motions against, or sorry, speakers against the motion to return it to the committee. Ken, speakers against the motion to return it to committee.
Yes, I do have one speaker, Senator Hala King.
Okay.
Noah, can you unmute, please?
You should be unmuted.
Yes, I'm muted now. Thank you, Joanna, for all your work on this as a member of the committee that you are presiding over. I find the question of we faculty can do it, why can the students do it, is a little bit simplifying the problem. We have students who can't even plan when to turn in an assignment. It is more than just voting. It is being involved in a very important process that in other countries, people don't even have the luxury of. So I think Joanna already said that this is only for the national election. We don't need more specificity. That is extremely specific. We can add a line to the resolution stating that this is only for the national election. I think students should have the right to have a day where they talk about politics in a very mature way, where they just have the option, if they have a $7 job or whatever jobs they have, to take off and go and do the voting whenever they want to. I really think oversimplifying it and saying faculty can do it, why don't students do it, is it's just like, it's hard for me to comprehend. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator King. I understand that there's someone from downtown, at least one, who wishes to speak against the motion to return it to the committee.
Yes, Senator Irene Burnton would like to speak against moving this back to the committee.
Okay, thank you. Senator Burton.
Okay. I appreciate the group that brought it forth because I agree so much that it's an important issue for students to be involved in. The reason I wanted to speak against the amendment is because of the timeliness of this and the fact that this is our last meeting for the year. And so I think it's important that we pass it now so that when when faculty are planning for the fall semester, that this will be in place so that they can plan on it. This national election is very, very important. And so I think we should not do this amendment and slow this process down. So I vote, I'm asking people to go against it just so that we can keep it moving very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Burton. Caroline, you indicated.
I'm sorry. Additionally, Phil Vandermeer has contacted me, and he would. Should I wait to go back around?
Yeah, we heard from Caroline. So let me hear. We heard from Caroline before I heard about that. So I'm going to ask Caroline. It's turn for Tempe. Then we can come back.
Okay. Do we just want one person, or because I've got several who would like to speak against? Maybe we could start with Paul Cariz.
I think we don't need to pile up speakers on one side.
Yeah.
So far it's been one-sided. We don't need to keep on, but so let's not hear more than one or two more if speaking against the motion to return to the committee.
Okay.
If it gets redundant.
Yeah. If Paul Cariz could be unmuted, please. Carizi. Sorry.
Thank you, Cariz. Just to reinforce that last senator, that I think we should vote against this particular resolution. We should have a chance to have a friendly amendment to the statement, just to specify that it applies to national elections every 2 years on the second Tuesday in November. That should be specific enough. Thank you.
Thank you. One more.
Stacy Whitecotton.
Hi, thanks, Caroline. Yeah, my first comment was really about the timeliness. Can you guys hear me? I hope.
Okay.
Yeah, so the same thing with the timeliness. I know I'm on this committee actually, and we met for the last time last week, and so we wouldn't be able to address it until the fall. I think it's also in the spirit of the, what the committee talked about. I would, however, caution about making it too explicit, like every other year on this particular date, because the committee tried pretty hard not to take matters out of the faculty's hands, and it was really to encourage people to vote. I think maybe saying, national elections or major elections or whatever, but we wrote it pretty broadly to try to give faculty discretion. And so I would kind of vote against. I'm in favor of not sending it back to the committee, but also not making it too specific.
Okay, thank you.
But slightly more specific than it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Whitecotton. I guess Phil Vandermeer, are you going to speak to this as well?
I seconded the motion because I wanted to get the discussion moving ahead. But frankly, there's two ways to handle this. The one is if we can do a friendly amendment, and it seems to me that the person who made the motion has now spoken and said that it was intended to deal with national elections. If that is in fact the case, the simplest way to do this is in the first sub-line where it says, considering the dates of elections, make that the dates of national elections. It seems to me that that was understood. If that is what the maker of the motion and the second would agree, then we could vote on that. We could vote down this proposed amendment and go back to the original motion.
Okay, that seems like a good possible procedure to follow. So let's proceed to the vote. I think Maria's had time to prepare our vote. And this is a vote on the motion to send this back to the committee.
Correct.
So if you do not want to send it back to the committee and leave it until August or later to be voted on, you should vote no. If you want to delay until it can be looked at by the committee again, you should vote yes.
Very well. Launching it right now. The resolution reads, do you approve Senate Motion 2020-74 resolution supporting removing voting barriers for students to be sent back to the Student Faculty Policy Committee for more specificity? Ending the poll. The motion fails.
Okay, thank you. Phil, I'm going to take your suggestion as a, could you put that in the form of a motion to amend the resolution?
Yes, so as a friendly amendment, this only requires the approval of the person who made the motion in the second, and it is in under therefore be it resolved. Line 1 says publicly asserts, and then line 1 under that urges all faculty to demonstrate support for students' participation in voting on election day by considering the dates of insert national elections, and then as read.
Okay, thank you. Johanna, on behalf of the committee and as the person who presented the motion, would this revision, the addition of, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have the words right, but the specifying national elections be acceptable?
Yes.
To you. Okay, this is a friendly amendment. And who seconded this? Who seconded the amendment, the motion in the first place? I'm sorry, I don't remember. We need their agreement.
Was that me?
Chris, do you have notes?
Alternately.
I show it was Senator Vandermeer.
Okay, so but I think it's obviously implicit then. So now, Maria, we okay. Let me think about this. Do we need to?
I have this motion that reads like this prepared. Let me know if it works.
Okay.
Says, do you approve Senate Motion 2020-74 resolution supporting removing voting barriers for students with the amendment of inserting national elections to the resolution?
Okay, I think that works for us. So if you have that prepared.
I do.
We did not have anyone speaking against the motion in the first round, so I think we can probably move to a vote. Maria, would you?
Yes, launching it right now.
Yes.
Ending vote. Motion passes with 91%.
Okay, thank you very much. I note that it's now 4:58 and we have several items of business left. However, I'm going to call a 2-minute recess. Don't go very far, but you may need to get up and stretch. You may need to get a drink of water. We've been at this for 2 hours and I have to take a break.
I can sing, but I don't have elevator music.
Whatever.
No, I'm just kidding. I will unmute everyone so you can chat with your colleagues and they'll mute you back again.
Bad idea.
My dog will sing to everyone.
Get a break for 5 minutes. I don't know you guys.
Thank you everyone for hanging in here for the remainder of our agenda. I was thinking how if we were meeting as usual, you'd all be quite anxious about rush hour traffic. And at least we don't have to worry about that. So again, thanks for persisting here with us. We'll move on then to our next item on the agenda. And that is the proposal to establish the University Senate Ad Hoc Committee, Digitally Enhanced Teaching and Learning. This comes from the UAC, and I'm going to ask Samin and Caroline to present this motion.
I apologize, Shirley, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
I don't think Caroline's back.
All right.
Oh, sorry, she is.
Okay, hold on a second.
Sure.
I have some, well,
you do not
Maria,
need
I
to-
think Denise has been sending you some chats.
It's not necessary for you to read the entire thing, but I certainly want you to say enough of it for the group to well understand what this motion is and what the gist of it is. So if you want to maybe just cut to the chase on the motion, and this is motion
Motion
2020-75.
Certainly. So the motion is to establish an ad hoc committee on digitally enhanced teaching and learning within the University Senate. We currently don't have a committee that addresses issues relating to technology at ASU. This ad hoc committee would comprise of appointed members of the University Senate and the Academic Assembly, as well as 2 non-voting ex officio members that are appointed, one each from ASU Online and one from Ed Plus. The ad hoc committee would also be comprised of faculty members from a diverse area disciplines and representing all campuses as well. Carolyn, is there anything else you would like to add? Okay.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, let's hear discussion of this motion. We'll begin. I think we can assume that Caroline and Samin's presentation is speaking in favor of this motion. So we'll hear anyone who wishes to speak against it first.
I'm sorry, Shirley?
Caroline? Yes.
Denise has a comment, if we could unmute her for a moment.
Oh, of course. Denise.
We need a second.
Thank you. Could we have a second for this motion?
I second the motion.
Okay, Ken Sweat seconded the motion. Okay, so I was saying we'll consider the presentation of the motion to be a gesture of support for the motion, and we'll go first to hear those who wished if anyone wishes to speak against the motion. Ken, anyone to speak against the motion from West?
No one wishes to speak against the motion from the West Campus.
Thank you. Yun, anyone from Poly to speak against the motion?
No one. Thank you.
Thank you. And Samin, anyone speaking against the motion?
No one speaking against the motion from downtown.
Thank you. And Caroline, speaking against?
You're muted, Caroline.
Sorry. I see that no one has said they would like to speak against the motion.
Okay, thank you. We have time to hear from at least from one person who wishes to speak in favor. Anyone from West to speak in favor?
There is no one from West to speak in favor of the motion.
Thank you. Anyone from Poly to speak in favor?
No one from Poly. Thank you.
Anyone from downtown who wishes to speak in favor?
No one from downtown.
And from Tempe? Caroline?
No one from Tempe.
Okay, so you indicated that there might be some who wanted to say something about this, or was I not understanding?
No, I was just talking solely in case somebody was trying to tell me they wanted to speak. I have no one who wants to speak on this motion.
Okay, well, congratulations on presenting a non-controversial motion. So Maria, would you prepare the vote?
Happily. Couple of more seconds. Votes are still coming in. We are ending the poll. Motion passes with 96%.
Okay, thank you. Now we're ready to move to the first of the first readings that was advanced to our second reading section of the agenda. And that is the motion, motion 2020-79, resolution in appreciation for our essential workers. Joyce, would you please present this motion? Joyce Martin.
Can you unmute, Noah?
I'm unmuted. So the resolution in appreciation of Arizona State University essential employees, the University Services and Facilities Committee recommends approval of this resolution. Resolution, whereas the Arizona State University essential employees have worked tirelessly to maintain operations on campus, and whereas the Arizona State University essential employees have continued their work at the potential risk to their own health, whereas the Arizona State University essential employees have exhibited extraordinary flexibility and ingenuity in this rapidly evolving situation, and whereas the Arizona State University essential employees have maintained a positive and professional attitude despite the stresses, be it therefore resolved that the Arizona State University Senate wishes to recognize with deep gratitude the heroic services that have been provided by staff, the workers in custodial services, facilities services, first responder services, food services, health services, library services, mailing services, and others whose presence on campus is essential to ASU's continued functioning during this difficult time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Areas or departments that have essential workers on campus include the following. And we have a list which appears in Appendix B that lists all of the areas or departments that include essential workers. So would you like me to read that list, Shirley, or can we assume that that folks can look at that?
It's not necessary to read that, but I do encourage everyone to take a look at that if you weren't following along on this in the appendix. It's a surprisingly long list. So thank you, Joyce, for presenting this resolution in appreciation. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, it's Sameen Levinson is seconded. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this motion? Ken, West.
There is no one who wishes to speak in favor of the motion from the West Campus.
Okay, anyone who wishes to speak in favor from Polly?
Oh, no one.
From downtown?
No one from downtown.
And from Tempe?
Yes, Roger Windhorst would like to speak in favor.
Senator Windhorst.
Can you unmute, Noah?
This is Roger Windhorst.
It is not working for some reason.
It's not working for me either.
It takes a couple of clicks to unmute. I just want to say we should all wholeheartedly endorse this. They've done a absolutely superb job, all these essential workers, and this may need to continue for a while as well. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. So is there anyone to speak against the motion? West.
There's no one who wishes to speak against the motion from the West Campus.
Thank you. From Polly.
No one from Polly. Thank you.
Anyone to speak against the motion from downtown?
No one from downtown.
Okay, thank you. And from Tempe?
No one from Tempe.
Okay. We can offer one more opportunity for someone to speak in favor. If anyone does wish to. Ken?
There are no further speakers in favor from the West Campus.
Thank you. Polly?
No from Polly, thank you.
Downtown?
No one from downtown. Thank you.
And from Tempe?
No one from Tempe, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maria, would you prepare the vote?
Yes. Launching poll. Ending the poll. Motion passes with 100%.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay. That's great to see. Okay, and thank you very much to the Facilities and Services Committee for bringing that motion forward. Our next motion is motion 2020-80, related to launching the General Studies revision pilot on the West Campus. This was introduced as a first read and we advanced it to a second read. I'm going to ask Senator Vandermeer to read the motion. Phil?
Having trouble unmuting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Senator, okay, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, okay, now I'm there.
Zoom is getting tired.
Yeah.
We all are, right. So the motion itself is very simple. It says that the University Academic Council, probably should be the Senate, recommends approval of the launch of the pilot General Studies revision program at the West Campus. I think this is quite important, but given the late hour, let me make this really simple.
Okay, thank you.
When it became apparent a couple of weeks ago that there wasn't going to be a formal vote on this, it seemed to me vital that the Senate clarify and reaffirm its authority over all curricular matters. This involves graduation credits, faculty work, a whole variety of things that I said in the email I sent out. And so it's for that reason that I thought it is essential that the Senate go on record affirming this, and the second motion, which follows this, to reaffirm and clarify, if necessary, steps as we move forward. So that's my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Phil. We'll consider that a speaker in favor as you presented the motion, and ask if there is anyone to speak against this motion, starting with West. Anyone to speak against motion?
Excuse me, Shirley.
Sorry, second. Did I forget the second? Thank you, Caroline. I don't know why I keep doing that. Caroline, are you seconding? Are you seconding then for us?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for inserting yourself there. Okay, so speakers against the motion from West.
We have no speakers against the motion from West.
Okay, any from Polly?
No speaker from Polly, thank you.
And from downtown?
No one against this motion from downtown.
And from Tempe?
No one against the motion from Tempe.
Okay, thank you. Now we will hear additional speakers in favor.
Can I call the question?
I don't know what the procedure is okay, our parliamentarian says no.
Okay.
Do you want to explain your answer, Denise?
She should be unmuted.
You're unmuted, Denise.
Okay, now I am. Okay, you can ask that debate be halted, and we can go ahead then and vote on debate being halted. I've got a feeling that nobody's going to say anything, so I've got a feeling the question's ready to be read anyway.
Yes. Okay. So
unless there's a whole lot more discussion, I don't think there is. I don't hear any. I don't see anybody looking like they want to jump in.
I will call for additional speakers in favor. Will that satisfy you, Phil, instead of?
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Additional speakers in favor of the motion. Ken?
Yes, I have Senator Stephen Toth who would like to speak in favor of the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I would like to speak in favor of the motion. I'm sort of wearing two hats here, both as a senator and as the ostensible director of the General Studies Initiative at the West Campus. Just very quickly, in terms of background, this began in terms of the West Campus involvement in August of 2019, when 6 faculty members were convened to read, revise, and eventually implement some sort of general studies plan based on the ABOR recommendation for a thematic approach to general studies. So after nearly a year of planning, dialogue with all campus stakeholders, including all the other colleges at the West Campus, the revised general studies project is ready to launch in the fall. I think faculty and academic, or the Senate oversight is very important to this process. I do want to touch on just a couple of things very quickly about the pilot, just as a reminder. The pilot maintains the existing GS audit, all right? And that will continue for transfer students even aside from that. Second, the pilot will continue to operate through DARS. That won't change at all. Third, the pilot's going to use a digital portfolio model of assessment, which was one of the recommendations in the ABOR plan. And then fourth, at the West Campus, we've made a concerted effort to incorporate additional on-campus activities surrounding the rollout of this initiative in the fall. And I should mention that currently, I think we have right around 200 students already enrolled in the first 1-credit course in terms of our revised general studies model. We anticipate, coronavirus notwithstanding, that number will hopefully double and or triple. I'm in support of the motion.
Okay, thank you. We can hear an additional speaker in favor of the motion, and that was coming from West. Anyone in favor of the motion from Poly?
No one from Poly. Thank you.
Anyone to speak in favor of the motion from downtown?
No one to speak in favor of the motion from
Okay.
downtown.
And from Tempe, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the motion?
No one in favor, no one at Tempe.
Okay, I think we can move to a vote on motion 2020-80. If you'd prepare that, Maria.
Yes, launching the poll now. We're ending the poll. The motion passes 89%.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Maria. Okay, our final motion move forwarded or advanced to second read status is motion 2020-81, guidelines and protocols for review of the general studies revision. I'm going to ask Eduardo Pagan to speak first regarding this motion. Oh, to present the motion. Yeah, sorry about that.
Sure, thank you. So presenting the motion, it's that the Senate, through its designated leadership group, the University Academic Council, established guidelines for future stages of implementation of the General Studies revision. These guidelines shall include protocols for review by the General Studies Council, by the Senate's Curriculum and Academic Programs Committee, and by consent of the University Senate.
Thank you, Eduardo. Do I hear a second to this motion?
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been seconded by Phil Vandermeer. Okay, Eduardo, I'll come back to you and see if you want to say anything more in favor of the motion.
Sure, yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, this motion is simply recognizing and reaffirming the Senate's role in overseeing general studies, while at the same time applauding and recognizing innovation and the innovation that the current pilot program is undergoing right now. So we applaud that as a Senate, but rolling forward as we contemplate how this is going to then deploy to the rest of the university, we need to have the established bodies that are there by a board mandate to review the revisions as they go forward.
Thank you. Now let's hear anyone who wishes to speak against this motion, if there is anyone. Ken, is there anyone who wishes to speak against this motion from West?
No one from West.
Thank you. Yun, anyone from Poly who wishes to speak against this motion?
One from Poly. Thank you.
Thank you. Samin, anyone from downtown who wishes to speak against the motion?
No one from downtown wishes to speak against this motion.
Thank you. And Caroline, anyone from Tempe to speak against the motion?
Give me just one moment, please.
Sure.
Okay, I had received something in the chat from Jack Spielberg, but I'm waiting to see if that was he wanted to make a comment for. No, no one from Tempe.
Okay, we can hear, I was going to say we could hear in favor or against because.
No, there's no comment from Tempe.
Okay, so we'll give another opportunity for people to speak in favor before we go ahead. Ken, anyone to speak in favor?
No one from West.
Okay, thank you. And Yun from Poly?
No one from Poly. Thank you.
Samin?
No one from downtown.
And Caroline, anyone to speak in favor from downtown?
Does not appear so, no.
Okay. I don't want to rob anyone of an opportunity to speak about this motion if they wish, but it looks like we may be ready to move to a vote. So Maria, if you would prepare the vote for us.
Yes. Launching the poll right now. Ending the poll.
Okay, thank you.
Motion passes with 96%.
All right, thank you very much. The last item on our agenda is Senate committee reports. In the interest of time, I am going to ask that instead of the chairs presenting the summaries of their reports, with one exception, and that is the Committee on Committees, I'm going to ask that instead you all promise you will read these reports. I've had a chance to read the full written reports that they've submitted, and it's very impressive to see the work that these committees did throughout the year. Much of it you have no idea of unless you read these reports. You could leave the year of the Senate thinking that we didn't do a whole lot if you didn't bother to read these committee reports. So please promise me that you will. And those will be circulated, Maria expects, by May 1st. Could we hear from Chris Kieselka, though, about the update on the elections?
Absolutely. Just a quick update. The Academic Assembly and student government utilize the same voting system. And so the student government elections were delayed this year, which means our elections were also delayed. So the dates are not yet finalized, but tentatively the Academic Assembly election will be held in mid-May if everything goes as planned. So as far as other committee business, I'll have a complete annual report available at the conclusion of committee business this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris. We're ready for the open forum portion of our agenda. During open forum, senators may ask questions, make statements, or present topics of interest to the Senate. So I'll give you a few moments to alert your campus president if you have anything you wish to bring up for the forum. Okay, Ken, anyone from West with?
No requests to speak from the West Campus.
Okay, thank you. Request from the Poly campus to speak in the forum.
Yes, we have one comment from Career.
Okay, thank you.
We have one comment. Career.
Yes.
Okay.
From whom? So we can
Can you repeat the name?
Career Hristrovsky.
Could you spell the first name?
Okay, K-I-R-I-L. K-I-R.
Lisa Cortez.
Career. Okay, let me tie to you. Sorry.
Yeah, I think these are alphabetically. So if the K-I-R-I-L.
K-I. Oh, yes, Kirill. Yes, sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Kirill.
Okay, so this is with respect to motion 2079 that we just passed.
Oh.
And I was not aware that the IT personnel was not placed on the list. And I want to emphasize the UTO and IT personnel is not the same. So we had a motion where we recognized UTO, and apparently there might have happened some kind of an error in people switching oftentimes people can do that. I think that these folks have been extremely helpful to us. These are the people who help us with our computers as faculty. UTO does not that. These are the people in our units that are embedded. And these are the people who actually, we call them sometimes at night that help us out and go to the office. And I think must have been some kind of again, switch in the names that they were bundled under UTO. And I just want to make sure that this group is recognized separately.
Okay, thank you. Well, Senator Hristrovsky, we'll take care of that and make sure that note of appreciation is evident.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in the open forum? Downtown.
No one from downtown.
And Caroline from Tempe.
Yes, Senator Kwan, HLT Kwan would like to make a comment.
First name?
HLT, he's under his initials. First initial H.
HLT Kwan.
It's a she.
Senator
Thank
Kwan.
you very much. Is she, her?
Sorry.
Thank you. Yes.
Sure. So last week, the ASU Graduate and Professional Student Association, PGSA Assembly, passed a resolution urging that ASU support a fully funded one-year COVID-19 bridge year for all ASU doctoral students. And I was wondering if the Senate is aware of this development and whether or not we as faculty plan to take up this conversation and plan to engage the graduate students on this matter. Thank you for the opportunity to make that announcement. And again, it is she and her.
Thank you, Senator Kwan. I will respond to that. Our opportunities for taking this up, I appreciate your bringing it to our attention. Our opportunities for bringing it to a discussion of our group are very limited, but we do have a chance next week in our conversation with Dr. Crow to raise that question, and I encourage you to raise it then. And in fact, let me say, I encourage you all to send me any questions that you would like to make sure that President Crow addresses. In my experience, if he knows what the questions are in advance, he's more likely to respond to them. So if you would like, I will certainly forward any questions that you send to me. Of course, you can wait and bring up questions during his time with us next week, but there's that other strategy as well. Let's move then to
Shirley?
Yes.
James Lyons has his hand up.
Okay, thanks. James Lyons, Senator Lyons.
Okay, can you hear me, Shirley?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Don't seem to have good the Research and Creative Activities Committee. And I wanted to mention one thing that
Sure.
I was going to present. In our report, so we have a 3-page report that Shirley was referring to. In there is a detailed description of the idea of establishing an open access research fund at ASU. And I wanted to mention it. I'm obviously not going to go through it right now, but I wanted to mention it for those of you interested in that. And I observed in my own unit in CC that there was a lot of interest in it. And the recommendation is simple. It's to establish an investment fund to find an outside donor. Obviously now, perhaps now is not the best time for that, but to eventually find a targeted donor that can supply $1 to $2 million and support this open access research fund at a level of 30 to 50,000 per year. This would cover something like 50 to 100 or so papers per year. And it would be that there's been tremendous interest and a lot of requests over the years in establishing such a fund at ASU. They exist at other universities. We do not have one. Not all universities have them, but they are very valuable to junior faculty, and they cover the whole spectrum of topics, research topics covered at ASU. Please read the report if you would like to see some more about that. Yeah. Thank you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Jim, for bringing that up. I think everyone who's heard about it is very excited about the idea. So you've managed to pique everyone's interest, I'm sure, and increase the chances of people actually reading those reports. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in the forum?
Yes, Shirley, we have Senator Cristina Lopez who would like to speak in the forum.
Okay, Senator Lopez. Cristina Lopez?
Yes.
Is that with a C or a K?
With a K.
Oh,
okay.
Thank you. She should be ready.
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Excuse me. So it's in the Personnel Committee report, but I wanted to make sure everybody heard it. Several of the faculty within the School of Social Work have inquired about how can they suspend, or how can you not have to pay for a parking pass that you aren't technically allowed to use since they can't go on campus. I don't know if that's what committee, or if that's possible to be a discussion, but it has been a real concern that they're still having payroll deductions and can't go to campus at all.
Okay, thank you, Senator Lopez.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? I've got my eyes on the campus president, so just nod your head or raise your hand.
Shirley,
Yes.
Eduardo Pagan, Senator Pagan would like to speak.
Okay, Eduardo.
Oh, thank you, Shirley. I just want to take a moment just to recognize the work that has gone into this general studies revision, starting with some members of the UAC, now under the lead of Senator Toth. This is quite an undertaking to rethink something we've been doing since, I think, the 1980s. So again, I just wanted to thank all of them for their work, recognize its importance now and as we move forward. So thank you to all of you. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Eduardo. Thank you for making that comment. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to move then to the next to last item on the agenda, which is the passing of the gavel. It's customary at the final Senate meeting of the year to acknowledge the upcoming end of the current Senate president's term on May 30 and the advancement of the president-elect to the role of president coming up on June 1st. Traditionally, we've enacted this acknowledgement by a symbolic passing of the gavel from the outgoing Senate president to the incoming president. However, our virtual meeting mode makes an actual handing off of the gavel difficult, and likewise the scheduling of our special meeting to hear President Crow's report in a special session next Monday complicates this. Nevertheless, I do want to recognize Sameen Levinson, incoming University Senate President and UAC Chair at this time, and express my delight that she will be taking over this role on June 1st and my confidence that she will carry it out with intelligence, grace, and compassion, which I've been privileged to find in her in the past 2 years. I will therefore invite her to make any comments she wishes to make to the body and subsequently to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you very much, Shirley. I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous job that Shirley Rose has done during these last couple of months, in particular in leading the University Senate through these unprecedented times. Additionally, both Shirley and Senate Manager Maria Coca have demonstrated great grace and agility in being able to structure these multi-campus Senate meetings onto the Zoom platform and run them very smoothly, considering the quorums, the speakers, the votes, and all of the other many moving parts. For those of you who will be continuing your term as members of the University Senate, I look forward to working with you during the 2020-2021 academic year. I hope you have a wonderful summer and are able to enjoy a much needed break after this unusual spring semester. Oh, look, I've got, you can't see it, but I've got a gavel in my hand. So, and with that, I will adjourn Senate Meeting 7.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.